What is up guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm sharing my journey of transforming my entire basement into a fully functional space, including a bathroom from scratch. The problem though is that I have zero experience and I'm relying on my YouTube university degree to figure things out. In my last video, I covered everything on framing as well as show the rough-in plumbing, which I did hire out. So for today's episode, we're diving into two words that trigger almost every electrician: electrical DIY. Okay, but before we dive in, I need to do a full disclaimer that this is not an informational video and it should be taken as entertainment purposes only. If you need to do any electrical work, please consult a professional. With that being said, let's get to the video. I honestly have no idea how my house has not burned down yet. Whoever did the electrical work in my basement was for sure either a lazy DIYer or a very lazy professional. Let me just give you a rundown of what exists. I managed to figure out that all the outlets in my basement are powered by a 20 amp breaker. However, they are wired in by 14-2 cable. And this is completely wrong. You should be using 12-2 cable if you're using a 20 amp breaker. Next, I found that all my lights in my basement are connected to an outlet in the garage, and which are also connected to all the lights in a bedroom upstairs. And this is all powered by a 15 amp breaker. I don't know who did this electrical, but seriously, they must be stopped. Okay, so then what's my goal with all my electrical? Well, I'm going to run a dedicated 20 amp breaker for all the outlets in the bathroom. I will also run a dedicated 15 amp breaker that will power all the lights in the unfinished part of my basement. I know I just roasted a bunch of the electrical that exists, but that just feels really fundamental in residential electrical. And I know what I'm about to do, I might get roasted, but again, this is an entertainment video only. Okay, but that's enough venting. Let's get to the real stuff. Okay, so we're going to start off with baby steps. I need to move my existing switch out of the bathroom since I will be using that to control the outer lights. Now, if you got two lives, you can do this with the breaker on, but sadly, I already used up my second, so for this case, I'll turn off my breaker before I lay hands on the spaghetti. And where that existing switch box was, I'll be replacing it with a 2-gang box to house the switch for the lights and the exhaust fan. Now that every electrical box is mounted and the wires are everywhere, it's time to run these suckers where they need to go. So I know there's going to be a bunch of haters right now saying that I'm using Wago lever nuts and telling me that I'm going to burn my house down. Yes, that's exactly what I want. I want to burn my house down. That's why I did some research and I was like, oh, those seem to cause fires. I'm going to get those. Exactly that. So yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Let's continue with the video though. Okay, so at this point, the single switch from the outside should control the outside lights, giving me a blank slate in the bathroom area, meaning I can start installing my lights and my exhaust fan. The plan here is to have a vanity light plus 2 halo lights. The halo lights come with their own junction boxes, so I just place them roughly where I want my lights to go. And after that, it's just running more 14-2 wire. Running cable is honestly not too bad, though I think I could have done a better job of what height I made my holes in my studs. I'm afraid that I made them at the exact height that I will want to mount certain things on, especially around the vanity area. Okay, so all my wiring is where it needs to be. It's time to actually connect things together. The connection to the halo light junction boxes were pretty simple. They're just push-in connections. I connected my black wires together, then my white wires together, and finally the grounds. I'll be honest, apart from watching countless videos on how to do this, I did have to take some electrical classes throughout high school and college, which is why I'm pretty comfortable doing a lot of this. I wouldn't exactly recommend someone with no experience doing this. I'd instead recommend getting a breadboard and doing some small projects on there, and then gradually get into more complex projects. But again, by no means am I an expert, just do plenty of research if you need to do something like this. After securing all my wires to the studs using wire staples, I wanted to test things out, so I hooked up the hot wire from the breaker that was there and ran power to my switches. After that, I grabbed my fire extinguisher, told my roommates to leave the house, and that's right, we got light on the first try. Okay, so after I confirmed all the lights worked and so did the exhaust fan, I will now run their respective dedicated circuits. And look, I'll be completely honest with y'all, my plan was to never run dedicated circuits and instead branch off the existing wiring. And like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, this would just not be the right way of doing things. Plus, it would just add too much load on that one breaker. Because my panel runs to the outside, which honestly made this whole thing a lot easier, I opted to use a combination of PVC conduit and UFB cable. The first step was to make a hole in the wall and then start mounting our conduit. If you're curious what size conduit you need to meet code, or at least the recommendation, I recommend using ChatGPT, but at the same time cross-verifying everything with your city's local codes. And then for the PVC connections, I use PVC cement and use the PVC mounting brackets to secure directly to the house's siding. After our conduit was in place, we started pulling all the wire through. We pulled in as much as we needed to the inside first before running the rest of the wire through the conduit. It took a few tries, but we managed to get everything through. Lastly, my girlfriend's uncle handled all the wiring into the panel. I don't have much to say here except if you are scared to touch this, please don't do it. Just hire someone out. Once we hooked all the electrical panel things, we went back inside, which was just to secure the wires into the studs and run them into the appropriate electrical boxes. Now for the outlets, I don't have much to say, but this was a simple setup. It went directly from the breaker to a GFCI outlet. The last thing was placing metal covers to protect all the wiring running through the studs, and that pretty much wraps up all the roughing steps. I had an inspector come out, there were a few things I had to change, but other than that, it looked good. I was originally quoted about $1,750 to do the entire electrical that I just did. But honestly, I felt pretty confident since I have done some electrical work in the past. But right now I'm going to go through the total savings that I did doing it myself. So wiring cost about $250. Electrical boxes and switches and outlets cost about $30. Halo lights cost around $50. All the material for the PVC conduit cost around $150. All the other miscellaneous items like wire staples, metal plates, and conduit connectors cost about $75. So all in all, I spent about $600 doing all this myself, bringing my savings to about $1,150. So was it worth it? Honestly, I would say so, just because I did learn a lot, and I think the next time I do this, it'll definitely be a lot faster. If I would have hired someone, it would have definitely been much faster than how I did it. So sure, I did save some money, but I wasted a lot of time. That pretty much does it for this video. If you guys enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. I'm still trying to find the style of video that I want to do. I'm still debating whether it should be more informational or more entertainful. But for now, just leave me any feedback you might have in the comments. Till next time, peace.